Welcome to the second installment of our weekly series brought to you by the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association. This is where we bring you the latest news and information on the scrap industry locally and around the globe. I am your host, Willetta Wilson. Thank you for joining us. We start today's episode with some good news. Finance Minister Mr. Colm Imbert has announced the government's plan to promote the scrap industry as an eco-friendly industry. This announcement was welcomed by our president, Mr. Alan Ferguson.
The Scrap Iron Dealers Association has welcomed the announcement made by Finance Minister Colm Imbert in the 2021 budget statement. The minister announced plans by the government to make the industry an eco-friendly industry.
The scrap iron industry will also be promoted as an eco-friendly business by providing the necessary technical support and regulatory and incentive framework.
In response, Association President Alan Ferguson expressed his content with this announcement. He noted that the association was looking forward to working with the government on this initiative.
Well, we welcome the announcement from the minister, because this is something for years we have been waiting on, because we know this industry could contribute a lot to the economy for Trinidad and Tobago, and we welcome it, and we hope that when we have a meeting with the ministry that will be in charge of it, that we will come to an easy way that working with them, because we have the knowledge about this industry. There's nobody else in Trinidad have the knowledge as we as our organization.
Mr. Ferguson said his association has a proposal which it is willing to share with the government in this regard.
We have a proposal already for the government. Right now he is waiting for a meeting. We have the proposal. One of the things that we really want to go at is that we want to set up something like a park, but it will hold just more than scrap iron. But I don't want to point out to the public as yet, but what I could tell you is that the government will shock to know that an organization like ours could put something like this together and ready to work with them anytime.
The TTSIDA president also took time to comment on another issue. This time were reports that persons were stealing manhole covers in the central area for scrap. He explained that his association does not support such acts and encouraged his members to refrain from purchasing the stolen scrap.
Well, one of the things that I can say that our association has condemned that. Our association has fighting a long period of time trying to tell the government that this act, that people who thief in the manhole covers, we as an association telling our members not to purchase it in the highest form of condemnation. We as an organization will take no part in purchasing nothing like them sort, and what we could say is that interfering with these covers is against the law, and we will advise our members again not to take part in purchasing none of these manhole covers.
Our sister isle Tobago has launched its material recovery depot this week. Aluminum is one of the main products that will be collected at the facility. Take a look.
Aluminum cans, plastic bottles and Tetra packs are among a list of items to be collected for recycling on the island of Tobago. Last week, the Secretary for Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, Kwesi Devines, made the announcement. He was speaking at the Tobago House of Assembly's post-executive media briefing.
Starting on Monday, that's Monday, October 19th, Tobago will have its first material recovery depot commission. There will be a soft commissioning at the TTSIDA compound. It means that officially recycling can commence in Tobago. I want to repeat that. We have met the mandate, and we can say that recycling can commence in Tobago. And the materials that we are looking to start recycling in Tobago plastic bottles, plastic caps and lids, Tetra Packs, and aluminum cans. And we are starting with this. This is a one-year pilot program. We are happy to collaborate with our colleagues, our partners on this. It's a public-private partnership initiative. The Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment is partnering with the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development, along with Resource RWL. And they are the company that are leading the recycling for us. The equipment is already at the TTSIDA compound, and we're really pleased that we can get this done. This is going to be a red letter day in Tobago history.
The material recovery depot at Shore Park was launched on Monday, and it is expected to begin operating soon.
And I'm really proud that the division has been able to achieve this. Of course, this was one of the strong recommendations out of our first ever environmental partnership conference in June last year, where our partners, all stakeholders, indicated that recycling has to be one of the mandates of the Tobago House of Assembly, and for Tobago it's highly important. So I'm very pleased that we're able to deliver this to the people of Tobago.
Councillor Devines explained that an educational drive will be conducted in 3 communities in this regard.
We are looking to roll out in 3 pilot communities. We are looking at Castara in the north, Charlottesville in the east, and Buku in the west. The idea will be to have persons in each of the communities sensitized, so they start separating their plastics, the Tetra Packs, of course, and the aluminums, so that, again, that sensitization of the community is very important. Public education is very important for us, and we're going to ensure that we roll out a full education program in those communities.
The Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association recently held a press conference where it continues to lobby for the old Petrotrin scrap. Leader of the Movement for Social Justice, Mr. David Abdullah, was among the speakers present. He has pledged his support for the association.
Leader of the Movement for Social Justice, David Abdullah, has pledged his support to the Scrap Iron Dealers Association. This comes as the association has submitted a bid for the old Petrotrin scrap from the Heritage Petroleum Company Limited. Mr. Abdullah said the government should state its policy as it related to the scrap iron industry. He was speaking at a media conference hosted by the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association recently.
What is clear is that we need, first of all, at governmental level, a clear policy on the issue of the scrap iron sector, because government policy would then inform a state company like Heritage, where it would seem as if the tail is wagging the dog.
He said in the past, the scrap from Petrotrin was sold to the small and medium-sized businesses.
As we have heard, the scrap that Petrotrin would have been sold essentially to members of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, small, micro, medium-sized businesses in Trinidad and Tobago, that sector providing livelihood, bread on the table for small people in this country.
The MSJ leader questioned whether or not Heritage has an ulterior motive for the scrap.
I would appear that Heritage is doing that to favor large companies in Trinidad and Tobago that have not traditionally been involved in the purchase of scrap material from the oil company. And therefore it is being set up to favor the large companies at the expense of the small and medium-sized companies that are members of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association.
He said that this is discrimination on the part of Heritage Petroleum.
And if that is happening, then it is a clear case of the tender being organized in such a way to discriminate, and that is unfair and unjust. And that did not happen in Petrotrin, and I spoke to persons who were involved in the process before. And they said quite clearly that many of the large companies that are now expressing interest in tendering were never ever involved in this business before.
Mr. Abdullah said the process for the sale of scrap by Heritage should be similar to that of Petrotrin.
We are saying that the process of the sale of scrap should be similar to that which Petrotrin by Heritage should be similar to that which was done by Petrotrin, whereby members of the association would be the ones who would be able to acquire the material, and then through that process would be able to provide income for and business for small and micro-sized businesses and employment for ordinary people who would not have a job otherwise.
He called for the entire process to be reviewed.
Former Trade Minister Mr. Vasant Bharat was also in attendance. He stressed the importance of the scrap iron industry to the local economy.
An estimated 20,000 persons are employed in the local scrap iron industry. This is according to former Trade Minister Vasant Bharat. He was speaking at a media conference hosted by the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association.
These are people really at the lowest end of the economic ladder. And if it is that the government is serious about creating economic activity and creating jobs as we move forward in this new pandemic era, then clearly this is an area that requires focus and attention.
Mr. Bharat, who is also a member of the Roadmap to Recovery team, said that the industry is an important economic driver in the country.
The issue of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association was very prominent as an economic driver for Trinidad and Tobago. And I suspect it is because of the number of people that are employed. And the recommendation coming out of the Roadmap Committee was that the government has holds consultations with the industry to ascertain how the industry can grow.
Mr. Bharat said the local scrap iron industry is worth $500 billion globally.
Now, this is an industry that is valued at around 500 billion TT dollars globally. $500 billion globally. Trinidad and Tobago's share of the scrap market sector is currently about $300 million, and it's grown, it's actually doubled in the last 10 years. So it goes to show you the level of importance of this sector to the economic welfare and well-being of Trinidad and Tobago.
He said TTSIDA can create an additional 3,000 jobs for a period of 3 years with the Petrotrin scrap. Mr. Bharat lamented that scrap iron yards are already being threatened.
At the end of the day, they are going to be creating, beyond that, 3,000 new permanent jobs to add to the 20,000 that we will be able to maintain. I passed by and I've spoken to a number of scrap iron dealers in the last week since I met with Mr. Ferguson, and they're finding it extremely difficult. They're finding it almost impossible to keep their businesses going. As a result, of course, they're going to find it extremely difficult to ensure that they keep their employees, many of them not formalized in the system, but employees nevertheless who have families to feed.
Welcome back. You are viewing a brand new video series brought to you by the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association. This is where we share with you some useful information about our industry. Today, we explore one effect of COVID-19 as it relates to handling metals.
The coronavirus, known as COVID-19, took the world by surprise, killing more than 1 million persons and infecting millions more across the globe. The global pandemic had threatened economies and left many industries struggling to survive. Here is something that you should know. The virus can survive up to 4 hours on copper, up to 3 days on plastic, stainless steel, and a day on cardboard. If someone has the virus and handles the material directly and you touch it, shortly thereafter you can be exposed to COVID-19.
That was some very important information that you should know if you are dealing with metals. And now let's take a look at the scrap industry across the globe.
The United States scrap industry is one of the leading scrap recycling industries in the world. It provides recycled metals to many countries across the world. As such, the U.S. industry plays an important role in environmental protection, including natural resource conservation. According to the American Iron and Steel Institute, recycling a ton of steel conserves 2,500 pounds of iron ore, 1,400 pounds of coal, and 120 pounds of limestones. Not to mention, it saves enough electricity to power 18 million households for a year. Scrap metal recycling is hugely important in the modern world given its ability to support a large global workforce, protects the environment, and save energy. It also offers huge benefits for businesses and individuals who need a convenient and cost-effective way of getting rid of scrap metal.
A sound we all know. As mentioned before, the scrap iron industry plays an instrumental role in cleaning the environment.
These old batteries appear to be harmless, but did you know that these batteries contain sulfuric acid? Sulfuric acid is a solution that is both toxic and corrosive. If batteries are stored improperly, there is a danger of leakage which can lead to chemical burns, sudden explosion, or even soil and groundwater contamination. So, if you have old battery stores at home, take them to the nearest scrapyard where they can be properly disposed of.
The members of the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association continue to do our part in protecting the environment, and we urge you to do the same. Well, this is where we come to an end of yet another presentation of the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association. Remember to follow, like, and share our videos on Facebook. I'm also extending an invitation to you to join me next week, same time, same place, for another episode. Special thank you to our producer Nicole Dookie and our cameraman Shane. I am Willetta Wilson, saying goodbye for now.
Just pick up your scrap iron, then unite by the bar. Cheers. Pick up the scrap iron man near and far. Pick up the fridge, galvanized, old pipe, old car. Cause we buying scrap iron, old battery buying. Pick up all the scrap iron man out there trying. Buying scrap iron is the